Good morning, guys. Who we got in the chat? Yeah, Adi. What's up, man? Wolf and Bear. Blackwater, how you doing, man? Dave. Anonymous. Dylan VA. Crypto. Mr. Fuchsius. Did I say that right? How you guys doing? All right. Well, we had like an awkward day yesterday. We squeezed pretty much to the last moment. We had this uptrending support that we were talking about yesterday during the live, right? And the downtrending resistance. I had a downtrending level drawn, right? So we had that initial break to the upside. However, we didn't jump in on the long because of we needed a confirmation because of the fact that we had really poor R&R. Like the R&R was terrible to our measurable target. And luckily the R&R kind of saved us from jumping in on the trade because very shortly afterwards, pretty much immediately after the break, before we had the actual break of structure confirmation, we failed to create the higher high. Let me zoom in on the 5 minute. And the 5 minute makes it a little more clear. So the reason why I circled this is because yesterday I posted a little signal about what kind of structure it is and what it represents. And this is called an Adam and Eve. So if you guys haven't traded an Adam and Eve before, they look just like double tops, right? Except we have this initial burst to the upside, right? And then we have a strong pullback. And then we have low confidence coming back up, extremely low confidence. And these have a high probability of breaking to the downside. And that's basically essentially what I wrote. It's just what level you have to watch out for when it comes to these Adam and Eves is pretty much the same as a double top as well. You got to watch the neckline level here. And the measurable target is also the same as a double top. It's just the behavior of it usually stacks more opposing liquidity on the upside. Because of what's usually happening to the order flow, we end up having more people participating off of these setups for a break to the downside. Because there are usually ways to front run the neckline break. But we just took the neckline break. We got a little bit more, when you have so much opposing confluences in front of your face, sometimes it's best to wait for the late entry than to try to take the early entry. Because right at the neckline, we had the VWAP that would have been broken, the point of control of the range, right? And then the break itself would give you the VWAP and the point of control as potential guards for your stop loss guard. Now, the break itself was pretty quick, so you probably wouldn't have been able to jump in on that safely. But the pullback was there, and you could have jumped in on that and used the most recent strong high as your stop loss guard on the 5 minute. And then we had the measurable target for these double tops gave us the target of, click and drag, that's really quick, pretty much where the value area low was before this was updated. The value area low was just around here. But we knew that we had the potential for the target to basically continue down to this demand zone again right here. So that's pretty much where I recommended everyone to target, 93,900. And we went all the way down to about 93,800 before it started to bounce off of this demand zone. But now, this is pretty much where, yeah, I don't normally trade during these windows. Sometimes I do, but I was busy chilling with the kids last night. So now we can update our fixed range volume profile to the current data. And we can delete this. We don't need that anymore. We can delete this. We don't need that anymore. Now we're heading up towards the value area high again. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a peek and see how the liquidity evolved after all those moves. Get my measurement tool here just to remind myself how long this range is. 5 days and 1 hour. We're going to go over to the liquidation heat map. Change this to the week. Let's see what we got. All right, so yeah, we did stack a lot of liquidity from that Adam and Eve structure. From that slow little crawl drop, you can see right over here, that's where most of this opposing liquidity was stacked. Like quite a bit too, not a small amount. We got pretty much close to $500 million between like 95.5 and 96.4. So that we got a pretty big box of liquidity now between here and here. Okay, so I'm thinking, yeah, if you're a market maker and what your bias was, this is pretty much where you'd be targeting for a potential exit. But it can be used as buy side liquidity, but because it's above us, we have to assume that's going to be used as exit liquidity. So we'll see what kind of structure we get when we come back up to the Valerie high. I think we will get a higher high. I think we will come up to grab at least some of that exit liquidity and come down. So here is going to be a really important spot. We're going to watch to see how the structure is formed. If we get like a double top and it confirms, we'll take the short. If we get a continuation structure and breaks to the upside, we can use the strong low and we can go on the continuation for the long. But that's kind of like my plan right now for today. We've got uptrending momentum here that we can track. Momentum is just a really cool way of just tracking the pace of the buyers or the sellers. Right? When it breaks, it's not an action line. It's just a tool to tell you when to prepare kind of thing. And if you're in a existing trade, think of a momentum line as like your last warning. You might need to take some off the table kind of thing. Just like say, for example, you jumped on this short, but you wanted to stay in past your target for some reason, which is understandable. Then you should use momentum as a tool to kind of like keep yourself grounded. Like a lot of people use it all the time. Well, ever since we've been teaching it, people have been using it religiously to help them with like holding their trades, but also tell them when to get out of their trades. And this momentum is we got some negative space from it, so this kind of tells us that we might have a slower climb. Because they're great for ETAs as well. Once you have your first break of structure, you can start pulling momentum. Let's say, for example, here we had our first break of structure. You can pull this momentum. And from that point, you'd have an ETA when we get to the bottom. It'll tell you like 2 hours and 25 minutes. And this one is telling us that we could get to the Valerie high if we fill this negative space and then come up. It could take us about 4 hours to get up to the highs if we maintain this pace. This t-shirt is not red, blue, so range trading today. That's the goal. It's like a neutral color today. Yeah. I prefer ranges, man. Like if it ranges for eternity, that's like infinite money. Just keep us in the same spot. If we get the trend move, I like the trend moves when it's the macro trend moves, like the swing trades. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. Here we go, risking my job again for Kyle Stream. Could you do TA for Cubic? Yeah, we could do that. Good morning, got you and Alex on the same time. Yeah, that's a good way to go. You got the Fibonacci on. Yeah, he's got a good Fibonacci strategy, and our strategies are great together. Like if you learn both Alex's crypto strategy and mine, I usually go for like the contrarian entry when we're trying to find the reversal within the range, and he can catch every pullback along the way. Like, he's got a really good continuation Fibonacci strategy. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. Let's see what we got going on the DXY really quick. The DXY is looking bearish right now on the 5-minute. 15-minute looks bearish too, building a flag structure. Okay, yeah, last time we looked at it was this double bottom structure right here. And it's kind of what kind of kept Bitcoin settled down. When you have, when you're looking at the DXY, what you want to look for is kind of like think of it like a mirror to Bitcoin, in the sense where everything is kind of the opposite. If the DXY looks bearish, you can use it as bullish confidence for Bitcoin. So it's going to take more US dollars to buy Bitcoin. If this looks bullish, then it's kind of bearish for Bitcoin. Doesn't mean Bitcoin won't have enough purchasing power during the time where something is bullish on here that Bitcoin won't still pump while the DXY pumps. Because if you look at like COVID, for example, shortly after the US dollar went up like crazy and the funding rate fees being kind of like turned on, but Bitcoin also rallied really well too. Right now, it does look like, if you zoom out on the DXY, that we're building a strong like inverse head and shoulders structure. The confirmation levels way up here. So if that were to break, instead of this flag continuing us down, then that could be bearish for Bitcoin. But it would be good to have the US dollar stable and doing its job and not failing, right? So it's kind of that weird little mental balance where you kind of want the DXY just to be chilling in one spot for forever, so it's like stable, like a currency should be. But at the same time, you kind of want it to fail a little bit while you're a Bitcoin holder, because it kind of gives you a head in the game. But yeah, hopefully we're hoping for stability for DXY. See, I want to take a peek at others' dominance. I want to see how the altcoin rally is potentially doing. Not this season, but the rally. Because we broke down trading momentum here. We broke up double bottom neckline. We got the change of character at 8.2%. And now we're getting a little bit of a pullback after the change of character, which is fairly common. Let's see if we get that. I'm going to pull a fib on this really quick. From the low to the high to find retracement levels for this pullback. We're at the 382. We watch the equilibrium point at 0.5, but a big key area to watch is also 618. I'm hoping that the confluence of the momentum level and the 0.5 will hold this, so we can start seeing altcoins give us a little reversal. It's a 50 EMA battle we kind of lost against, but we'll see if we get that bounce and the continuation from here. We basically just need a higher high. Get an internal lower low being created. But if we do confirm this and finally get our run, then the big level I'm watching out for is 9.76 and 8.78 for a rally. Not a season, but a rally. Okay, let's go back over to Bitcoin. So I'm going to set my alarm on Bitcoin for when we have a candle close above the value area high. Let's switch this to the 5-minute before I do that. Whatever time frame you're in is the time frame the alarm will be synced to. Prepare for potential short. Let's see what kind of structure when we get there. All right. Fibs can fib. Yeah. Can Dogecoin make it to all-time high? Very possible, but it will take a lot more money than it did last time because of the amount of inflation that Dogecoin went through. So you gotta remember that Dogecoin creates 10,000 tokens per minute, so it's gonna take $10,000 more per minute to bring it to its all-time high. And that's why Dogecoin is definitely not part of my portfolio. And it's just too inflationary and with too little amount of utility. It's good to trade, but it's not one to hold, that's for sure. But yeah, Vacation wants to look at cubic, so let's take a peek at cubic. We have a cubic chart. All right, we're getting squeezed. We failed to break this high. We got a lower low, so we have a lower key level to watch. We are deviated outside of a previous value area low. If we look out in the daily, let's show you what value area I'm talking about. We had this previous macro range right here. And we kind of held it as support for a brief period of time, held it as support here, and then lost it, had access resistance. And now we kind of had like that double bottom recovery structure trying to bring us back in. We hit one of our previous little supply concerns here, so we'll just delete that. We'll keep that on there actually until it's disrespected. But we mitigated the whole thing, so the armor has pretty much been broken. So when we come up there, we got to take this with a grain of salt. We just change this so it looks. Change the visual order, send it back. There we go. We can sync our trend line with the structure a little bit more. So this is the pace of the sellers right here. They're pushing the price action below the value area. We have a demand zone over here to our left that's kind of holding us up. There we go. Internal momentum. Okay, so we can lower our key level, which is kind of nice for anyone who's looking for better risk to reward ratio setups for their continuations. We got here's a key level, just visualizing the path flow really quick. Yeah, so I'd be using the point of control now, that macro point of control level. We'd have this level here that we'd mark, but when you have a point of control right in your face, it's best to wait till that breaks first instead of jumping in on a break like that. There will be opportunities likely down here if we come back down for a potential SFP. So you could jump in on that for a front run entry. But if we break past here, retest the value area low, and get a higher high, we'll have that inverse head and shoulders like Wyckoff model. And then we'll get that break for the downtrending momentum. So we have lots of confluence if we have like a break structure continuation around this zone. Basically getting our good change of character, breaking our downtrending momentum, getting above the point of control, and acceptance into the macro value area, which could drive us to start grabbing all the opposing liquidity here, here, and here. And we could target up here again. And hopefully we get continuation structures after hitting that target. Because Our next key barrier after that would be the value area high. We got that 200 EMA right here in our phase 2. I'm hoping by the time we get up there that we'd have the confluence of that 200 and that supply concern. But that's cubic, so I hope that helps you out, man. We at least have a level now that's a lot closer that we can prepare for a big move from this squeeze. So just keep your alarms ready. If you want to set up like a preparation alarm, unless you're looking for the SFP. If you're looking for the SFP, mark the bodies down here. Mark the bodies so you get alerted when we're getting close to the wicks. Because the wicks is where you're going to be taking action, right? When we have that liquidity grab, acceptance back inside the range, then you have yourself a good SFP that you can take a trade off of. Yeah, that's cubic. Kyle, totally off topic. Don't you have to answer? You don't have to answer because it's not related to trading. What trading card games do you like? Magic the Gathering. I had a little bit of addiction to that before I started trading. But Magic the Gathering kind of saved me in a weird way. I had a... So when I first started trading, I was broke. I was pretty much destroyed in debt. The money I was making from my job and in combination to my bills, I was basically going backwards. I was losing money every month, not making or had any ability to make savings because the interest from my credit card was like too much. So I did something stupid and I took some of my trading money and I put it into buying $4,000 worth of bulk Magic the Gathering cards. But I bought it from Wizards of the Coast and an owner that I knew that wasn't very like, I don't know what the word for it is. He wasn't very, I don't know, he's kind of lazy. So I figured that he wouldn't really look through his cards like as thoroughly as I would. So I bought like, I should show you guys a picture. It's ridiculous. I had enough cards to fill my entire kitchen. And then my wife and I scanned every single one of the cards to find out the value of them. And then we sold them. So I turned $4,000 into over like $22,000 in probably 4 months it took for us to like scan through all those cards. And we basically did that while we were, like my wife and I were trading, trying to figure out this trading thing. And it covered all my debt. So I was kind of like a lot more financially free to do like trading and be able to quit my job, stuff like that. But yeah, that's my Magic the Gathering story. So I should show you pictures. Like it's pretty ridiculous. Looked like a sweatshop, like what my wife and I were doing. ZBCN potential with bricks buy zone. I thought potential with bricks. The bricks would be accumulating a token like that. I'll take a look at that. Curious. Well, while we're waiting on Bitcoin anyways, let's see what you're talking about. ZBCN. Oh, it's a network token. We'll look at an OKX. It looks like it's got low market cap. Look at that range, man. It's been that range for... Let's pull a fixed range from here to where we are. We got a macro range right here. Well, that's a cool asset to watch because if you're looking for a range trading asset, this might be a good one for you. It has kind of like the personality of double distribution, even though the fixed range volume profile doesn't reflect that. If you want to find double distribution Rick's. So these volume profiles kind of give you an indication of behavior just by looking at this. And if you see something like this, where it looks like a giant B, then that tells you that there's basically two ranges, right? And you'll find that there will be multiple valley areas within a double distribution zone like this. You have tons of them on the bottom side and the top side, but between that, price action moves really quickly. So like when you see this kind of structure, you kind of like can assume that when we have a break of structure off of the valley area with a higher high, that confirmation would give you a fast move to the next valley area, and we'll just ping pong back and forth. This ZBEC token kind of gives me those vibes because of the behavior of how we range and have fast moves down and back up. But because of how it's like kind of bleeding closer and closer together, the valley area isn't behaving like that. All right. But for TA on this thing, despite what you might think with the bricks, I don't know if the bricks will accumulate this. So I've had to do more research on that before I say anything. But we're at a valley area high. We broke a double top here on the lower time frames. We got like a 15-minute double top right here. So that was probably your best opportunity for a short. I think we even had the ascending retest before confirming the break to the downside, so you could have a really tight stop loss. And now we're at the valley area low, aiming to get acceptance down below here. We had really consistent momentum. Oh, sorry. And now we're kind of getting the same kind of thing, consistent momentum to the downside. We're now at a 200 EMA at the valley area high, so we might see a bounce here soon. So we'll see if the valley area high is honored as support before coming back down. But this is definitely an area where we still technically want to prepare for shorts, despite the fact that there was already a short opportunity here. There might be new opportunity for short coming very soon. And then you can target the macro value area low, but be very, very cautious around the POC. There's a lot of confluence here for a reversal, like around 0.00097. But yeah, that's ZBCN. Pretty good range-bound asset. It's been sticking to this zone. What was the time again? It was 317 days. That's pretty intense. And it came up and hit this supply concern once, pretty violently, so it came right back down. Well, yeah, if we get support bounce off the valley area, then we may just come back up to these levels again, just like we had a support bounce here. Yeah, look for those break of structures for potential continuations up. Let's go back to Bitcoin, see how it's behaving. Oh, we lost momentum. Okay. Oh, did I miss something? I'm going to pull a fib from high to low. Oh, we just tapped our platinum level here. Okay, 15-minute change of character occurrence here. Yeah, I could have jumped on that. Let's see. Maybe not. Yeah, the R&R isn't really there. Well, that's okay. So if we come down further, we can prepare for longs instead today. And I'm kind of biased to be doing longs, to be honest. I love longing more. I like shorting. My shorts lately have been crushing it, but I'd rather do longs. we got the chat. So we answered this question yesterday, but what RSI indicator is showing you the bullish and bearish divergence on your screen? Yeah, so this little dude here, which gave us like the divergence warning before this drop. If you look at the indicators, you want to type up RSI divergence, and it will have no name next to it. It's created by TradingView. And I'd recommend, yeah, if you want to have it, if you're using the RSI, might as well be using this one because it will draw divergences for you. And it's less work, same pay, right? So, yeah, I recommend adding that on there. Okay, totally. Okay, we already answered that question. Can you do TA on gaming token, super bean gun? Yeah, gaming tokens are usually inflationary, so you have to take into account for that with your analysis, but we can do some gaming analysis. AutoGain sounds Canadian. I'm MapleGain. Do I sound Canadian? Does that come through my voice? So I don't hear it. I don't know you're talking to Boot. William, Invesure is Kyle's project, and you get 7 courses. It's great. You try it out. 3-day trip. Thanks, man. Yeah. If you want to jump through Investure side, yeah, there's lots of courses. You get calls, get signals, not just from myself, but from our team. Okay, let's go to the gaming side. That looks like the main thing that I want to check out. So Super, we'll look at Super first. We'll check it out on Binance. Looks like we did T on it before. And we marked a zone of concern. Might have been just coincidental. So we broke through this and I didn't remove it. Short-term burst short, short-term burst long there. Yeah, this was the crazy move here. The inverted head and shoulders that gave us a wild target. And it was hit, and then we got that pullback after hitting our target here. Crazy move. All right, so let's get rid of some of this noise. You don't need that. You don't need that. I don't know where this orange line came from. Okay, it's just a critical level in general. Let me change the color of that because that's orange is usually my action lines. Yeah, change that too. All right, cool. A little bit cleaner. We don't need this either. Let's see what Super's technical target is. So we'll draw support here. And then from the neckline to that support, we find the momentum base target, which target's up here, around 93.40. We have yet to hit that target. We do have barriers along the way up. We're in a supply concern right now. If you're a range-bound trader, you'd definitely be watching these areas here that could keep us suppressed to come back down into a range. Watch your demand zones. Watch your supply concerns. Because they're usually your key first warning signs of understanding how a range could develop. Send this to back. There we go. I'm going to pull a fixed range from here to here. Just want to get a better understanding of how Price action might be respected. See the POC. Okay, zoom in on the hourly. Okay, so it was during this moment here that we got acceptance into this value area. And that's when you could start thinking that we could start targeting the value area high. And we got to the value area high after fighting against the POC for a bit, used the POC as support, and then we came down. And now we're kind of on the same path that we saw with Bitcoin. We're heading down to its potential value area low. We've got an internal value area right here. So if you want to mark that internal value area, you can see how price action might be respected off of that. Value area low here. So this is your active value area here. Active POC. Okay. We came down. We're holding the active value area low as support. We hit the POC as resistance. What you're trying to aim for on the hourly, if we're looking at the hourly right now, we want an hourly candle body close below, like below this area, so that we can have the opportunity of the value area to act as resistance. And if it does, then we could rotate to the more macro value area low. If it doesn't, and we still get acceptance back inside, you could also look for SFPs here. Let's see what kind of time frame we can look for that. Like we have a good 15-minute SFP opportunity here. So I'd mark our bodies for the range. And we can mark our wick. Get your magnet tool out for the wick. So what you want to see for this to swing fail off of this liquidity is price action to come down, grab that liquidity, then close back inside the range within the exact same candle. And that goes on SFP, so you can start targeting the local highs like right here. And hopefully you have the good R&R for it, as long as the wick isn't too wild. But if we instead get like a full body close below this level, then our chances are going to be much, much lower. And we could end up getting a rejection off the value area low, like I said before, break a structure continuation, and then bring us down to the more macro value area low. And like this candle already opened below this level, so that's already not looking good for Bitcoin super short. What are you saying super short for? Are you looking at the larger time frames? That was a pretty aggressive drop. If we were looking for a super short, depending on how you define that, this is a more macro structure here. This is a daily level right here that if broken, it'd be pretty severe. We can have price action come down to around 91,500. It's a big key level here that you should watch. However, I think that Bitcoin, if we confirm this, could surpass this. And if it does break past this to the downside, then we'll be watching like 88,500. It's a really, really strong value area level, the value area high on the larger time frames. Let me zoom out so I can show you. Right, oh, this is kind of out of sync. But this area right here where we had this previous high, all these previous highs of resistance could flip as support. So if we do get that break to the downside, that's kind of like my floor right now. We could bounce here and maintain a range. But if we lose that instead, then this is kind of like my floor right now. Look how rude those EMAs were, eh? Man. Last time we had something like that occur, where we kind of had the threat of the cross, was during that last range from February to October. Just being absolutely rude. And then we ran back up. We don't want the death cross anyways. Anyone who's a holder of Bitcoin, they don't want the death cross. Okay, so let's go back to lower time frames here. I still got some time. Shorts on XMR working for me. Oh, you're doing some shorts on XMR. Nice, man. XMR is a little bit more violent. So whenever you're seeing Bitcoin do its moves, XMR kind of follows it pretty well because of the pairing liquidity with Bitcoin. Could you do TA on Link? I think there's a big head and shoulders 1 hour time frame, but the head is at the same level as the shoulders. If the head is at the same level as the shoulders, then that could be forming a triple top or a double top. If you think of how the right shoulder is usually formed, it's normally formed from buyer's exhaustion, right? And the right shoulder is almost always like a golden pocket level for a head and shoulder structure. So like when you have that initial drawdown, then that's the key level that a lot of traders watch for a head and shoulder structure is that Fibonacci the Fibonacci retracement level. We bounce like this. We normally get to like about here, kind of like visualize where we normally hit around the golden pocket. Let's go to, you said Link, right? So let's find out what you're talking about. We've got a Link chart. Anyone who's in the Discord for like InvestiShare or Phenova, you can type in !point charts and then all my chart links will pop up. You don't have to be a member to get access to it. Just type it in like the welcome chat in the InvestiShare side. The Phenova side doesn't have like an entry for free speech or anything like that, so you'd have to be a member to check it there. But if we get a fixed range volume profile tool out, we're basically building a triple top. So this is when you pretty much have equal highs. Then I'd consider it a triple top. Don't consider it a head and shoulders. Like grabbing your target's not going to be that much different. Just the behavior of the liquidity is very different now, right? With a head and shoulders, there's normally like less liquidity because we recently grabbed some here when we came up. But in this scenario, because of the order flow, we normally have like 2 areas of high amounts of liquidity. Whereas a triple top has like 3 areas of high liquidity. We did come up here and grab some of the opposing liquidity, right? But I doubt it grabbed it all because of we didn't like go extremely high and grab all the available liquidity that could have been there. So let's find that out for sure, actually. So we have a range from here to here, which is 7 days and 9 hours. So we pull up the liquidation heat map. Where are you in all these tabs? There we go. Okay. Let's go to symbol, link. And we can at least look at the 7 day. Yeah, it's not letting me look back all the way there. So we stacked and stacked. Never really took. So at 15.4, sorry, 15.39, that's got a lot of liquidity above us. I'm going to look at the 2 week for a second. Yes, we had some like at above the far left hand side, right? but it's mostly like lower leverage traders, not the crazy high leverage traders that usually like bring it right to the wick. So it's lower leverage here, and then it became higher and higher leverage as we went through here, likely because of the higher confidence from us consistently having a hard time getting past the zone. It's very, very likely that we have a giant sell wall right here in the order books. When you have that consistent kind of like flat line level of resistance, it normally means there's one large sell order trying to get out. The measurable target for this, let me just pull a support level. It's kind of uptrending. We got the from here to here. So that's the momentum-based target if the momentum is maintained. We would hit a previous value area low. We have a macro value area low right here. Let me zoom out and see where that came from. Okay, I see. Yeah, this thing has been controlling the price for quite a bit. I love trading Link, as you can see. Chainlink, if you want to be a range trader, Chainlink is a great range trading asset. It respects the crap out of previous value area data, and it also always finds you like really good. If you're following my rules, which you can learn inside the course, and I say them all the time publicly, so you can look at any of the previous lives. But yeah, it follows my rules very, very well inside of its ranges. So I recommend like developing any range trading strategies inside of Chainlink. It's a good way to learn. So we're at that kind of level right now. If we just like, wait a sec here. Oh, okay. I mistaked my trend line for a wick. A large time frame. I was like, did we just crash and come back up? All right, so we did break like the uptrending support. We lost the value area. We had to act as resistance. So the safest bet for a short, if you want to go on the continuation, is to wait for a break of structure rejection. You can target these lows here, but you're going to be very, very cautious around 1407. I think this is a really strong level. We have like a little micro demand zone here. We have a better one like right here that you can mark. But we do technically have one here. We had a mitigated order block on the 30-minute, so don't trust the order block. If you're seeing one on any of your indicators, it's already been tapped. And so what kind of structure we get. But yeah, break of structure, continuation is what you want to look for Chainlink if you're not already in a short. Hopefully you're already in on one. And the confluence with the macro value area low with Chainlink, it comes alongside with the confluence of Bitcoin's local demand zone. So it might just bounce off that area. Yeah, range trading, love it. Yeah, Dave, there's always like one asset that's really good for teaching, like practicing range trading. For me, I learned range trading off of Energy Web token, which is now a zombie token, unfortunately. I'll pull it up. EWT traded on KuCoin back in the day when I was able to trade on KuCoin. But yeah, now it's pretty much very close to being a dead asset. You were talking about it recently. We wanted to kind of like try to recover. But if you look out on the daily, like it's had really, really good ranges. The downside with its range is that they would not really give you much opportunity to get in. Oh, this is really old TA. But yeah, I'd trade these ranges. They would last like 90 days. Like this 60-day one here. This is a 30-day one here. Look for assets that like to range for at least 30 days. Like chain, that's why I like Chainlink, because its ranges last usually a very long time. Like its macro ranges are also between like 30 and 90 days. Not to mention that it had like a 500-day range before it finally broke to the upside, right? This is a crazy one here. Yeah, 520 days. This is where my, like, Chainlink is my second biggest bag. So if you're wondering why I invested, like, Chainlink is my second biggest bag. I bought it at this flag around $7 and 30 cents, $7.35 roughly. And I closed my seed investments out at this high. And I signal all that with the community. Like when we bought it all together, and I sold at my seed here. I sold my seed, so now it's just house money if you think of it that way. Just trading with the profits. All right, what do you guys want to look at? What are the difference between InvestiShare and Phenova? I'll look at Dogecoin while I answer that question. InvestiShare is subcontracted by Phenova. So Phenova kind of is InvestiShare in a sense. It's just branded differently, unfortunately. But InvestiShare has the tools that Phenova hasn't built. So, for example, like right now, we're building a system called InvestiTrack, where you can connect your exchange to it, and we don't have a database that holds your information or anything like that. You'll see that when you get in there. But basically, you connect your exchange, and it will give you all your transactions in a very fancy Excel sheet, and it'll tell you how much you'll owe in taxes based on those transactions, how much you paid in fees, what your win rate is. Think of it like and it's free included inside your membership. So we try to build new things, new indicators, new stuff, and give you guys free access to it in your membership kind of thing. But InvestiShare and Phenova they're identical, because Phenova has hired InvestiShare as a team. Mantra was the one that you want me to look at. I don't know how well this is going to go when we look at this asset. I heard that it got its butt kicked. Yeah. So if anyone's wondering what happened here, it was not the team. It was not the team that did this. Because I remember I was asked to do some research on why this crash occurred. And it was, the sell was on centralized exchanges. But when I looked at the team's wallets, it doesn't look like they were the ones that induced this. But the downside with centralized exchanges selling is it kind of acts like a little mask. So you technically don't know the wallet responsible unless you see inflows going in from one wallet, and then going into an exchange from one wallet, and then it flows back out into the wallet as another asset, like a stable coin, for example. And if the stable coin equals to the same amount that was taken out of the when it was sold, then that kind of gives you an idea of who could have been during that kind of scenario. But that takes hours to find. Right now, the positive side with this drop, it was a very unsustainable drop. It's a massive fair value gap. We came down to, unfortunately, below this range bound price action. So it gave it the opportunity to act as resistance. Our next little area that you'd want to see a bounce for this thing to be saved is here, this little demand zone. So we had an impulse move here, built a base, impulse move. So that tells us that there might be residual orders here. We'll see what happens. Right now it's building a slow rounded bottom drop, which is technically a bullish sign. People aren't confident that it's going to keep on dropping. So the volume kind of, it's almost like the cage has been rattled and all the not the InvestiShare, all the traders are like a little scared because of what just happened. So at least it's not free falling still, coming down. We're getting close to this demand zone, which we may very well have tapped on other exchanges. But this rounded bottom is kind of like a sign that investor confidence might be slowly coming back. But right now, man, I wouldn't really touch this. Like trading wise, I'd kind of stay away from it. If you're an investor, keep an eye out on this low here. You don't want another Luna event. We have an equilibrium point right here. So we can watch this. If broken, that kind of might start seeing a rotation in the trend for a potential rounded bottom to occur. And you expect exhaustion here, where all liquidity kind of ends. And when you see exhaustion occur here, what gets usually formed during exhaustion, right? We get a pullback, and then that could induce a cup and handle. So if we break to the upside, you might get that continuation. That's one positive thing when you see those rounded bottoms. Depending on how we get exhausted, could determine continuations, could determine strong reversals. Kyle, will you do lives around the same time you used to? Miss watching your streams stress-free. What do you mean by that, man? Like, you mean like the one I used to do around 2 o'clock? I still do my like lives with the community. Like, right after this, in 30 minutes, or 25 minutes, I'll be doing a live with the community. You should stream as Batman, Kyle, one day. I don't think so, man. Like, that was like, there were like probably in that small little video, which by the way, I was planning for that video to be like 9 minutes long, but there was a lot of cuts. That video had like 70 retakes because I kept coughing trying to do the voice. So, stress-free because he's risking his job. Oh, I see. I got you, man. Yeah, maybe, man. I'm not sure. Like, I kind of crammed a lot into my schedule lately. I could try. I just got to automate a few things, like delegate some of my work to automation, and then I can probably do more calls. Can the VWAP be manipulated? Actually, artificially inflated. I noticed that will be in the value range in target. VWAP can't be manipulated unless a daily candle can be manipulated. The VWAP is the average weighted volume price of the daily candle. Let me go to the Bitcoin chart because I have the VWAP on it. So this orange line here, you're seeing on my chart, is the VWAP. No matter what time frame you switch between, the positioning will always be the same. It's always the same location. That's why like looking at it on like the daily is absolutely redundant. It's because it's using the active daily price action. So it's here we had our reset with the VWAP, right? So we had the average price from this moment to this moment, right? But it'll always reset after the daily candle closes. And during that time, that shift after the daily candle close helps kind of determine the behavior of the next day. Are we in an uptrend, right? Are we on an uptrend from that day? The daily candle closes. So during that time, it gives the candles or price action an opportunity to kind of reevaluate its positioning, just like how you'd reevaluate based on how the daily candle closes to determine how you're going to be trading that day. And if price action is below it, we should have a bias for mostly shorts. And if price action's above it, should have a bias for longs. And when it catches up to the price action like that, it can then immediately be used as like support, like it was here, or resistance. So just yeah. So no, it can't really be manipulated unless someone has the power to manipulate a daily candle, and the daily candle is really tough to manipulate. A 1 minute candle, very easy. 5 minute candle, not that hard either. Honestly, if you have or you can build a wall of about 200 Bitcoin. You can manipulate the price action in multiple time frames. But the daily, yeah, it takes a lot more money to get it to do what you want. You can't get the daily to close the way you want it unless you can control the active range. What we have the chat. So we got GDP making lower than expected. Here comes 88. Yeah. We have a lot of news. Let's go to the Forex factory really quick. Today is Wednesday. Yeah, GDP and Canadians monthly comes out. Advanced GDP quarterly for the US dollar comes out. Or came out. Oh no, it's not out yet. 8:30. So this will be updated very soon. Employment cost index. Yeah, I'll see how this goes. It's kind of a busy week for US dollar impacting news. Unemployment claims comes out tomorrow. That's a big one. And non-farm employment change is a big one too. Unemployment rate is a big one Friday. So Friday's a decent day at 8:30ish. So we'll see what kind of response we get. SUI 5% massive wick yesterday can be seen in order books. If we had a massive wick, you might be able to see the automated response of the bounce in the order books. But if it crashed like crazy, it's normally created by a market order. We don't need that anymore. That was for a different setup. But SUI. Okay, we're coming down with full body candles down to this key level. Is this the wick you're talking about here? % drop. The candle itself is 5.7%. Okay, so it's probably this one, yeah. It's wild. Yeah. I'm looking at the 5-minute chart, so if you probably wouldn't have very much opportunity to get in on this. That technically is an SFP. But yeah, SUI right now is coming down towards a local demand zone here. I have all these lows marked to prepare for potential swing failure patterns. Depending on how we drop, we could be able to jump in on something like that. This one's been nullified, so we can delete that. But we kind of lost its ascending support, just like Chainlink. We had the same kind of pace of buyers along the way up, and we kind of lost that. But so yeah, I think we might be going lower for SUI. So I'll be watching there on this zone. Right, the zone starts at 3.37. It goes all the way down to 3.26. We tapped into it before in the past. So remember, we're chipped away at it a little bit like armor. So that armor's weaker. So trust it less. So make sure you wait for, all your rules to be met. Whether it be changes of character, break momentum, VWAP confluence, whatever your rules are, make sure they're all met there. Bitcoin's still chilling down there. AVAX auto signal have a peak. Let me take a look at AVAX. I do gotta head out very soon, guys. We got our next call in 15 minutes. AVAX, we have a key level marked for AVAX. This downtrending momentum broke finally. That's been weighing it down since $54. Now we're at 21, but we fell all the way down to 14. We had, so if this key level breaks, this is a large time frame. This is daily, so we pull back up. We break this level, then we have a really good break of structure guard for our stop loss for that kind of target. But that's more macro. If we zoom in, we are breaking the lows. I would pull a impulse fib from this low here to our high. Mark our key level. Golden box zone from here to here. This is also a form of demand, but we're taking the upside and isolating confluences with the Fibonacci. So here we'll be preparing for longs. Get rid of this noise. We can remove. There we go. This is the hourly time frame, 15-minute time frame. So what we want to look for here is kind of like an opposing change of character occurrence, right? And then we might have the confluence to jump in a long. I don't know why my R side color just changed. Let's just go with, I guess it doesn't really matter. A free falling. Brian saying he's going to go live after you really quick. Little cross contamination, but you can go. Well, yeah, you could take up too much time on Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, I'm on the call. I'm on calls from. Well, I have this live from 8 a.m. and then I'm usually on the next one until 11:30, 12. Oh, that's a good drop on AVAX, man. It got squeezed into that. And then we got a rejection of the valley area, a break of structure down. So every time we came down before, this is the key difference. When you're trying to identify a valley area, likely going to be left and then moving to our next one, look at the difference between all these drops down below here. If we came down, but we never retested it with a break of structure and a lower low, right? We never got the lower low. So we pull back, come back down, never got the lower low. Pull back, never got the lower low. Here, we pulled back, and then we got the lower low. When that happens, we have an increased probability of leaving that valley area and then moving on to our next area of interest. So this is a huge warning sign for, this is also a rule that trend traders look for, by the way. So if you're a trend trader trying to find an entry for more of a longer term move, then you need to be looking out for this as one of your, it's a really good set of, really good key rule that you could use as part of your rule set when you're looking for confluence for entry. Because your final rule for all your strategies are going to be based on your risk to reward ratio, and it's going to be based on your price action structure, like your actual candles, not your indicators. You can have a bunch of indicator confluence, but you're always going to need price action to tell you their final rule. And this is a really good final rule for trend traders. All right, we're now at that demand zone. So this is a zone where you prepare for buy orders. Because of where we are, and how we deviated from this value area. I'm going to wait for more structure to define the entry. I'm not going to catch the knife because we could slip back down through all this before going up, and you could find yourself a much better entry around these lows instead. And Bitcoin is still slowly chugging way down. AVAX has a ton of pairing liquidity Bitcoin, so Bitcoin is a little bit of a boss when it comes to AVAX's moves. Like, AVAX does sometimes have relative strength. It is a network token, so it's one of the first leaders to move usually when we have relative strength in altcoins, just like all network tokens usually do, unless they're getting bled out, like Ethereum kind of is from Sui. But yeah. So if Bitcoin comes down to this demand zone, you can expect AVAX to begin to recover simultaneously. Sol, Sui, Link, all falling hard. Yeah, Sui had some crazy relative strength, so it's good for it to have a bit of a pullback. Sui almost in buy zone, so let's take a peek at Sui if you're... See if I can identify the zone you're looking at. Okay, so... Oh, okay, I got the zone drawn on my chart. So Sui's kind of in the same kind of positioning as... Oh, we just looked at Sui. Oh, wait, duh. Kind of the same kind of positioning as AVAX. Right? We're at a local demand zone. We want to prepare for potential reversals. Just the demand zone differences. We have... This one's less refined compared to AVAX. This is just based on the price action demand zone. AVAX, we have refined it a little bit based on Fibonacci. But yeah, I'd be preparing for like long trade signals today, basically, either from like InvestiShare, Phenova, or any of the otter gangs too. You'll probably be seeing long signals coming up very soon. You just gotta wait for that structure. If Bitcoin finds a bottom, these assets will likely find a bottom along with it. Okay, guys. The U.S. economy contract for the first time in 3 years to start 25 leading news. Okay. Well, guys, I gotta head out. I gotta prepare for my next call. Am I happy with the outcome of the elections? Okay, we'll end it with this. No, I am not happy with the outcome at all. I kind of feel like I don't like our system, guys. I don't like the parliamentary democracy, quote unquote. Yeah, so yeah, I'm not really happy with the results, but we're going to have 4 years of pain. Everyone fell for the trap that the liberals would remove the carbon tax, right? But the moment they were elected, they put it right back on, and our gas prices went back up 20 cents in a single night, overnight. So, yeah, I was kind of hoping for conservative, but I don't want to get political because some people get emotional over that stuff. Yeah, and then, yeah, I might be joining you guys in the U.S. very soon. A lot of Canadians, it's crazy. You talk to most Canadians, they're all going to be talking about how they're planning on moving to Alberta because Alberta is like the more likely province to be adopted by the U.S., at least first. So a lot of people are running to try to get claimed by the U.S., especially traders, because there's that small little promise of potential no capital gains on Bitcoin if you pay your taxes in Bitcoin, something like that. We'll see what happens. All right, guys, have an amazing day. It's a good way to end it. And I'll see you in the next one tomorrow morning. Any InvestiShare or Phenova members, I'll see you in about 8 minutes when the call starts. We'll hopefully find a potential trade together. All right, see you guys.